Welcome back to the Blitz Banter podcast. Today, we'll discuss takeaways from week 5, waiver wire pickups ahead of week 6, and positional rankings at both wide receiver and the running back positions. First, before we start, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. It does help us in the YouTube algorithm. That way, our content pops up. You're able to reshare it, and you know who you should start, who you should sit, who you should pick up to help win your leagues. Also, follow us on Instagram at Blitz Banter Pod. Not only for the memes, Marc's doing a great job pumping out memes there, but if you want to see our positional rankings more in depth, more in detail, follow us on Instagram as well. Let's dive right in. We're going to start off with some waiver wire pickups. I'll start with my 5 waiver wire pickups, and then we can move around. I posted a YouTube short on this not too long ago, but I'll just quickly go into the 5 guys I have as waiver wire pickups going into week 6. Number 1, if he's not already claimed in your league, you should go out and grab him, whether you need a tight end or not. And I think all 3 of us will agree on this one. That's Tucker Kraft. He headlined last week as a priority tight end pickup, and now he finished this past week as the tight end 1, in my opinion. Just to read off his stats, he caught 4 of 5 targets, had 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the one for 66 yards in Sunday's win over the Los Angeles Rams. So Tucker Kraft has emerged into the tight end 1 in Green Bay, and I wouldn't be opposed to even starting him as a tight end if you don't. I mean, I have, in my opinion, a top 3 tight end, being George Kittle, Trey McBride, or Brock Bowers. But if you don't have one of those 3 guys, I think you're okay going out and grabbing Tucker Kraft. But I'll move on to my next 4. I think a great wide receiver to pick up, especially with bye weeks coming into effect now. The Vikings are on a bye week. I have to sit Justin Jefferson. You're going to start to see more teams on the bye. You're going to start to look for more wide receiver 2 or flex options. A guy like Josh Downs, I think, works. Anthony Richardson being out definitely hurts the Indianapolis Colts, but Joe Flacco, even at his age, continues to prove why he's a really good quarterback. And in my opinion, will be a Hall of Famer just for an illustrious career. Not only did he step in and have another great start for the Indianapolis Colts, I know they did lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're going to get into the next one. It's a great segue into the next one, but he just makes all the receivers around him better. And one specific receiver on the Indianapolis Colts that I think he makes better is Josh Downs. Downs hauled in 9 of 12 targets this past week. He went for 69 yards, and he led the Indianapolis Colts with both receptions and targets. So he's a guy I'm definitely targeting as well, along with Tucker Kraft. Speaking of the Jaguars, Tank Bigsby has looked great. Travis Etienne is starting to kind of fade away from that bell cow back, and you're starting to see Bigsby just continue to get more involved week by week, delivering another explosive performance. He helped the Jacksonville Jaguars get their first win of the season over the Colts, and he had a great game. He rushed for 101 yards on 13 carries. He did have 2 touchdowns. He also had a 28-yard reception on his only target of the day. Over the last 2 weeks, he's averaging nearly 96 rushing yards per game. So definitely chipping away at Etienne's bell cow role. Now, sticking with running back, another running back for my New York Giants. I assume Devin Singletary will play this week, but Tyrone Tracy Jr., the rookie, he's more known of being a receiving back, more of a receiver. I believe he played 4 years in college as a wide receiver, and then in that senior year to boost his draft stock, he switched over to running back. Well, it worked out for him this past week. He impressed with 18 carries for 129 yards, and my New York Giants stunned the Seattle Seahawks. So continue to stream Tyrone Tracy, especially if Devin Singletary remains sidelined. And then finishing off my top 5 of waiver wire pickups, I'm sure your guys' lists are similar. Jalen Tolbert, he led the Cowboys in catches, targets, and yards on Sunday night. Don't get me wrong, CeeDee Lamb is still the wide receiver 1 in Dallas, but I think Tolbert has filled in nicely at that wide receiver 2. And if Brandon Cook, is going to remain out for as long as he will be out, I think it's worth picking up Jalen Tolbert to fill in that wide receiver 2 role nicely in Dallas. So I'll let you guys take it over with some of your waiver wire pickups for this week.
Yeah, I'll just lead off with my number 1 waiver wire pickup and who I believe to be the priority waiver wire pickup, and I think it's Tank Bigsby. I mean, if you look at what he's just doing in Jacksonville, I think it's pretty obvious that he is going to have a larger role in this offense. I mean, if you look at some of the efficiency stats he has, I mean, he's averaging 8 yards per carry, and that's off of 34 attempts. I mean, last game, I'm pretty sure he outtouched Travis Etienne, and it looked really good for him. And to be honest, I think it was kind of like a test drive to see how well he would do being the bell cow, kind of the bell cow running back in Jacksonville, and it worked out great. And I think if he's not the RB1 in Jacksonville, then he's a premium handcuff for Travis Etienne, that's for sure. And potentially, kind of like a Bucky Irving situation going on there. So that's my priority waiver wire pickup. Another tight end that I've mentioned a few times on this podcast, but I'm gonna say him again, is Tyler Conklin. He's rostered in less than 50% of leagues, and he's getting peppered with targets on the New York Jets. Now it's not nearly as much as Garrett Wilson, but you know, 6+ targets a game for a tight end, that's really good in my opinion. And plus, all the top tight ends you drafted, like Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts, all those guys, like they some weeks are getting outproduced by guys like Jonnu Smith and Tyler Conklin. And like it's crazy. Like Mark Andrews, you drafted him to be a top four tight end. Well, he gave you 9 points, and it's like kind of like a boom week for him. Like, what are we talking about here? So that's my second waiver wire pickup. Another waiver wire pickup I had, Adam mentioned him, Josh Downs. I mean, my only hesitation with Josh Downs is that Anthony Richardson is going to come back into this offense, but it's also kind of hard to ignore what he's been doing. And if on a surprise move the Colts decide to bench Anthony Richardson and play Joe Flacco, then it's going to be really good for Josh Downs. Another guy I want to mention, he's a running back on the Miami Dolphins, and his name is Jaylen Wright. Jaylen Wright has looked better than Raheem Mostert, and when we're talking about, premium handcuff running backs, I think Jaylen Wright is the perfect, candidate. He's averaging 4.8 yards a carry this year. He's had 29 attempts, 139 rushing yards. That's nothing to really sneeze at for a running back. Plus, if Devon Achane is going to miss more time than we expect, then I think Jaylen Wright could emerge as the RB1 for the time being. And I think for the time being, he should be a stash on your team. And, if Devon Achane really does go down, then Jaylen Wright could be the guy. And Raheem Mostert's not really looking too good this year. So that's another one for me. Another running back I want to mention is Braylon Allen. I mean, he's still, he's still doing his thing. He's averaging 4.5 yards a carry this year, and he's got 32 attempts through the first 5 games. So that's not like true bell cow RB1 numbers, but in my league, or at least from the stats I see here, he's rostered in less than 50% of leagues. So you should go get him on the waiver wire because he's another one of those premium handcuffs for a top running back like Breece Hall. And you're on an offense where they love to run the ball a lot, or at least should be running the ball a lot. And then another guy I want to mention is Alan Lazard. Behind Garrett Wilson, I think Alan Lazard is the number 2 target on the New York Jets, and the New York Jets seem to be kind of a pass like happy team as well with Aaron Rodgers. So, Alan Lazard, he's just doing really good this year. So I really think he should be a guy that you pick up on the waiver wire.
Yeah. All right. I like those five for the most part. Alan Lazard, obviously, he had a few drops this past week, but in general, though, he has had a few touchdowns that are definitely helpful for fantasy. But my five, pretty redundant from both of you guys. But there definitely were a few differences, but I'll just go in order anyways. Number one, I think we can all agree is Tank Bigsby. Um, in my league, he is available, and we have a free agent auction budget, meaning we have 100 like fake dollars to spend for the whole season. And right now, I'm putting $20 up on him, and I still don't think I'm going to get him. I think that's literally a fifth of my money. And I mean, well, it's probably a little more now because I have less dollars and we're already in week five. But anyways, he's that good. It seems like I wouldn't say that he's officially taken over Travis Etienne's role, but he's really on his way. I mean, Etienne had 6 carries, Bigsby had 13, and he had 5 more yards per carry last game alone with 2 touchdowns as well. Um, I mean, the name Tank, it really kind of fits. He had his first touchdown. I think it was his first. He kind of just carried like three or four defenders with him to the end zone. And I can't confidently say that Travis Etienne could do that all the time. Obviously, they're a bit different builds. Tank is a little bigger than him, not too much bigger. But, anyways, Tank is definitely the top waiver wire option this week. Let's go with my number two, which is Jalen Tolbert. Like I think it was Adam that said that he led the Cowboys in receiving this past week. Brandon Cook's injury definitely helps him, I guess. But 7 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown on 10 targets, that's really good stuff. I wouldn't say that he should be a starter for you by any means, but he's definitely on the right track so far, and that's really what a waiver wire pickup is. You're not expected to start him right away, but he seems to be like a good depth piece so far. Number three, I'm gonna go with Juju Smith-Schuster. Big name, but hasn't really been a big player for the last few years. I'm not saying he's immediately reclaimed that big player status after one game. I think he played phenomenally against the Saints. Sorry.
Saints. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 7 receptions for 130 yards and and on 8 targets. Like that's some vintage Juju right there. That's really
Like
exciting to
it's
see.
like what year is this, right? Kareem Hunt in the backfield, Juju catching passes. Like what year are we in? The Kansas City Chiefs are
Yeah,
winning in prime time with those two guys, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, it really is something that
yeah.
obviously Rashee Rice being out for what it looks like to be the year.
It is
Um,
the year now.
yeah, yes, I've seen some tweets, but at the time of this recording, it looks like yes, it's going to be for the year.
It is
Uh,
confirmed on my fantasy football app, and I am currently submitted a waiver wire pickup for Darnell Mooney to drop Rashee Rice.
I got
oh
Darnell Mooney.
no,
Very
damn! But
happy about it.
I can't guarantee that Juju is going to be the wide receiver one or two of the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs kind of pass catching and just full offense is kind of in a weird phase right now due to injuries. Travis Kelce, after 4 weeks of doing nothing, finally did something last night. So things are moving up over there. But I really think Juju is definitely a good waiver wire pickup, at least for the next couple of weeks, just to test the waters, see how he does. Do I think he's going to get 130 yards again this season? Probably not, but I think he's good to have on your team for a little bit. And speaking of Chiefs that were really good in 2018 or so, another waiver wire pickup of mine. Adam mentioned it. We're gonna go with Kareem Hunt here. The
He's
injury to
still available?
yeah, like that's the thing. He may not still be available in a lot of leagues, but he definitely is for a few. I can guarantee after this week he won't be available in any, which is why you really should go out and get him. Um, Chiefs running backs, it's really just him and Pirine and Carson Steele at the moment. So it's really just him at the moment. Um, Pacheco being out is definitely hurts the Chiefs in general. But Kareem Hunt, again, kind of like Juju, I don't think he's going to be like his 2018 self or whatever year it was. They're both great. Somewhere around that time. But I think he might be one of the only guys that I've mentioned so far that might even be like a flex option, like a consistent flex option until Pacheco is back. I would argue Bigsby too, but it's still odd with the ETN stuff as to who's going to play more snaps in what week. So I would definitely argue him. And I believe I have one more. Yeah, I have one more, and it is Keon Coleman of the Buffalo Bills.
He's available?
Yeah, he's definitely
Really?
available in plenty of leagues.
Wow. I'm shocked. He's not
Keon
available
is
in any of my leagues.
he's rostered in 57%,
Okay.
so it's definitely filled up a bit.
Yeah.
Um, he's a super talented rookie that hasn't really gotten many targets yet. He did have a touchdown reception last week for 49 yards. It's a really nice catch and run, but that was his only reception. But the injury to Shakir, he's day to day. He could be back soon, but hopefully the chemistry between Josh Allen and Keon Coleman could improve a little bit as Coleman continues to get used to the NFL. And one main reason why I've chosen Keon is because of his competition ahead. I mean, these next teams have good defensive backs, but their rosters in itself are definitely in a bind, meaning that a momentum shift could definitely kick things off. So just next, let's go with week 6 through 10 before they play the Chiefs and then have a bye. Week 6 is the Jets. Week 7 is the Titans. Week 8 is the Seahawks. Week 9 is the Dolphins. Week 10 is the Colts, all of which have losing records at the moment. Now, all of them have decent secondaries, but like I said, things are kind of going in a downward spiral for a few of those organizations, especially in the next matchup against the Jets, as their head coach got fired this morning. So, those are my 5.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Keon Coleman and also bring up the Kansas City Chiefs because I always go back to the NFL draft where the Bills and Chiefs did that swap where Bills ended up taking Keon Coleman, Chiefs ended up taking Xavier Worthy, and then you talk about the Chiefs and Juju Smith-Schuster and Kareem Hunt as two of your waiver wire pickups, and you
Yeah.
mentioned 2018, and I'm just thinking this is a 2024 NFL season. We're still talking about Kareem Hunt on the Kansas City Chiefs, who was in Cleveland for all those years, and Juju Smith-Schuster, who has won a championship there previously, already back with the team and being the leading receiver this past week. Very interesting to see that. But I want to get into a running back and receiver rankings. We can start with running back if either of you want to start, or I can start. I'm okay with that. But definitely some interesting things to monitor with some of those contenders. Especially and sticking with the Chiefs real quick, the Kansas City Chiefs may be the biggest threat to a lot of these AFC teams, but they don't have many weapons at the moment. Like we're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster and Kareem Hunt as their best options in week 5 and go out and get them for week 6. So the AFC, in my opinion, is still wide open. Um, many people pick the Jets as a team that could win a title, and maybe they can this year. But like you said, Hunter, their head coach got fired this morning as we record this Tuesday night. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Again, it helps out our YouTube algorithm. That way you can get all your information, all your news, who to pick up, who to start, who to sit, where we should rank, running backs, receivers, tight ends, etc. It helps out if you subscribe. Blitz Banter, just subscribe. Make sure you like the videos. It does help out the YouTube algorithm. And if you're not following us on Instagram already, Blitz Banter Pod, we got memes there, and we have our rankings more in depth. Some great graphics that we're putting together there as well. Thanks again so much for watching, and best of luck to your teams this week in week 6.